Okie dokie. It is time to do the studying again because I pussied out and didn't do it for 2 days because I was too enamored by working on an Unreal Engine game. So, I think we were on ellipses and why to avoid them. So, fuck. I don't remember how to make them. I need to get back into C++. I need to have a quiz at some point. I think I'm going to do that. I think that's going to be helpful. I'm going to do a quiz tonight. Yes, I'm going to 100% do a quiz. So it'll be more than 30 minutes tonight. First, I'm going to finish the ellipses section. On God. That's what I'm going to do. Episode's almost done. Or just whatever the fuck. Put a comment. Who gives a fuck? I don't care about comments. Alright. Do a little music. You can't hear this, right? Oh, my mic is probably fucked up. GG. Yes, it was. Great. Amazing. Okay, too loud. That was a great song. Okay, so before ellipses were an issue because what did it look like? I think it was like void do thing. I'm gonna have it print, so I'm just gonna include IO stream because we need standard character output to print. Okay, and we're gonna say that it's going to accept do thing. I'm gonna say print thing. And let's say it takes multiple things. So let's say it takes a character, my character, or we'll say character to print. And then it has this ... to accept other things. That's an ellipsis. An ellipse? Ellipse? An ellipse. An ellipsis? That use ellipses? I'm calling it an ellipse. So an ellipse, the ... says that you can accept a bunch of other shit. So I could call this with print thing. We could pass it h because we're going to print this. But then I could also pass it I and a bunch of other things. And boom. And it will accept it and it will compile. And in this case, we could use character to print, or we could just say maybe unused to stop the compiler from having issues. But the point is that these guys will get swapped in, and we have this bullshit. We have to do like VA define and VA start and all this shit. I think we have to include functional? What do we have to include? Is it functional? Oh, standard argument? Dude, it is terrible. Ellipses are garbage. Basically, instead of just doing a beautiful little array here, where we just have an array of characters, character array, and it's some size, who gives a shit. And then I could pass it this, and then what if I passed it, I don't know what this would look like. If I just passed it a literal array, what would that look like? Could I do it like this? Oh, actually, I could pass it the standard string, so I could pass it like this. Maybe not. Maybe I totally cannot. Hold. Oh, it needs to be a const character. Oh, const character is okay. It is. Interesting. What happens if we print? Actually, we'll do hello? It's a fucking character. What am I doing? And then a character array. We'll do that. What if I just print that? And then end the line again. So we can do the whole thing, add extra characters in here, so it's a bigger string. Cool. Const character, boom. If we make it a const character pointer, oh hold, wait. We can make it a pointer, or we could leave it as the array, which when evaluated becomes a pointer anyway, so it's same shit. Standard character output has an overload so that when it sees the pointer, it'll automatically keep going until it finds a null character, which would be here, or here. But, okay. So, don't use an ellipse, because they're trash. You have to have this ambiguous ... guy, and you have to use this VA start shit, and then whatever. and then end up using VA get or something to get the individual elements of it, and then you have to make sure that they're still valid so you're not going out of range. This is just some gay shit. This is trash. This is terrible. Look at this. You have to say, oh, this maybe takes an integer count. Like, bro, you may as well just pass it an array of integers or of doubles. But in this case, it's doing a double find average of a bunch of integers, but it can also take other things of different types. Maybe? The second argument is the type of the value. So now we have to know the type of the value. This is just trash. They're not useful. Whatever. I'll still continue it though. I'm not going to skip it. I've never skipped a chapter. I won't. All right. I don't think so. Maybe it was one. All right. We have to access it, but we have to initialize VA start. And then we have to use VA start or VA list to initialize it and call it something. And it just gets all the shit that's in here. And then we have to start it and say how many it gets, which is trash. So it also needs to be past the size. That's the whole thing. And then we have to loop through it like normal. Instead, we could just do this with a nice array. And then we also have to end the list at the end to clean it up. It's just terrible. The value takes parameters. Type checking is suspended. Oh, great. What do you mean? We're not going to get narrowing conversions and whatnot? Hold. Are we going to see that? No, we're not going to see that. Or hold. File uses type checking to make sure. Hold. Match the types of the. There's no way. It doesn't even care. Oh no. Yeah, because there's nothing to compare it to, right? Completely suspends it so we can do anything. Yeah. Why would we want this? We don't want that. You don't want a function that just accepts anything. Make a fucking generic thing. Just make a template clause real quick, and boom, you have a function template or a class template or whatever. You're good to go. Hello? Oh, I need to turn my AC down because it's still 74 and it is 11:52. Okay, I'm back. Oh, forgot. That's what happens when your dog dies, bro. You get sad and you forget the AC because you're just cold inside. All right, let's go. So, compile completely suspends. It's possible to send argument. Yeah, we don't give a fuck about that. I wouldn't want that. Using it's up to the code. We want to maximize understanding in the code, not fucking ambiguity. Hello? When using it's up to the caller. Because then the caller doesn't know what's acceptable. It's just terrible. It's terrible. Then you have to make sure that the implementation is totally visible instead of just using an interface. This is just trash, at least for a class template. I'm guessing that 1.0 here, because in type conversion, the compiler finds out what the binary would look like to represent the same value in the other version. But if it thinks that these are all integers, it's going to find out that other binary version, but use it to represent an integer. So we're going to get a really big one. Or actually, rather, it's 1.0, so it's going to find... Oh, that's why. If it's thinking this is an integer, it's seeing the binary for 1.0, which is different than the binary for 1. So it's going to use the binary for 1.0 as 1, and we're going to get a big-ass number, or a small-ass number. I guess it'd have to be big. There's nothing smaller than 1 in integers, so, I mean 0, but we're actually getting decimals, so the average, oh, well, it's already returning a double, so is the point that this is just a big-ass int, and then, yeah, it has to be. This has to be a big-ass int, because we're getting one, like what? 10 million something? Right? 7 figures? Yeah, 8. So, translate into a meaningful value. The ellipsis throws the variable as type. And you tell it. So the second does. But if the type parameter doesn't match, bad things will happen. Probably because of this. So here it is. It expects them to have type of int. and each call will return the next translated as an integer. Well, what happens if we have the binary as a float? Well, the binary is going to be translated as an integer, and it's not going to go and say, hey, find the integer for 1. It's just going to use the binary as is for the integer value. So here it comes. In this case, the problem is that the double passed in has more binary than the int would have. Oh, shit. Wait, hold on. The double we passed in as the first ellipse argument because this is the count. So 6 is the count, and then we pass in a double. The double is 8 bytes, and so it will only read the first. And if it doesn't read the whole thing, it's reading earlier than the float is and getting a garbage value. And then does it again and reads the second, which is the other part of the float. Yeah, okay. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay. Yeah, why would we want that? Throws away the number too. Why would it throw away the number? Well, I mean, because I guess it's not required. Oh, well, the point is if we pass the thing, it doesn't have the length. We have to also pass it the length because there's no, you just get the size of however many things you've been passed because, okay, that's annoying. You'd think you would just be able to do the VA list dot whatever. But instead you have to initialize it with the count of parameters, objects that it's getting. It's a great song. I'm going to subscribe. I already am. I'm turning on notice for now. Piece of fuzz or a piece of skin maybe. A little flake. Okay. Pass in the parameter. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. If we did the call, we did 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, great! It's not gonna do. It's probably gonna use another, and it's gonna use a garbage value at the end. I'm guessing. Bop, bop. There it is, as expected. Three 5. This produces 3.5. Oh, another case where we passed in too many and it ignored it, and our values don't look crazy. Like this looks crazy, and it tells us instant because, hey, how is this the average of these? Well, it looked for a garbage value, this extra bit that's not here, this other object that's missing the 6th element. So we get a garbage value, and it's obvious. But here, we're going to get 3.5. And oh, look, it looks cool. Okay. But we have 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, 28 divided by 6, right? 28 divided by 6 is like 4 point something-ish. Why is it getting 3.5? Oh, because it's not including 7. So instead, it's getting 11, 15, 18, 17, 19. Or hold on, wait, what? The fuck did I just say? I said 18 plus 3, 21 divided by 6 is a little over. Yeah, it makes sense. 3.5 because 18 plus half of 6 is 21. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense because it's hard to check. Yeah, so you'd have to have some sort of validation thing where it checks to see 6 element, or it checks to, like, where you have to do it both ways. You have to find the average with the ellipse, but then you have to do it another way to validate. That's stupid. A sentinel value? Well, yeah, we know sentinel values. We don't like sentinel values. We use standard optionals, ideally. Oh, true. But sentinel's okay for that. Strings are fine. To include -1 at the end? Oh, great. And then we're going to say, what, while the element isn't -1 probably, or something? Here it comes. Yeah, so we're doing a while loop, and we're checking to see if it's -1. So you may as well have just done while this element isn't -1. But we'd have to make sure that the size is 1 or more too. Yeah, true. And then you can continue instead of having to pass that. But great. If the 1, remember that. 2, check it. Maybe all the values are valid. Maybe you have averages and you have negatives too. It's just junk. I mean, you could pass it a value that it would never receive. You could pass it a pointer to something and it has to evaluate it. But it would have to like get the type of it and see if it is a pointer. Because you can't just pass it a value, because if you evaluate integers or booleans, anything that's non-zero, it'll convert to be a boolean of 1. Hold, let's see. This is our count variable, because we have to do at least 1 and then the ellipses. Two in ellipse. I'm guessing this is an old section. Told you, 2023. He hasn't redone it in a while. Less care. Or just less time put in it. This is our count variable. Yeah, to check the first. Well, yeah, because then we're checking. Oh, okay. So we have to have 1 in the beginning and then what? Not use the object and then use these values until we finally get the sentinel. If we forget, it's infinite. Yep, great. GG. Yeah, but what if it's also boom? See, there's. That's why I don't like sentinels. Excuse me. A decoder string? What the fuck? This is trash. Standard string view? So we're starting. So we've passed in a standard string. For what reason? I mean, a string view. Same shit, basically. Just not noting. It's like passing via reference. I'd rather do that. VA start. Calling it lists. And the count is decoder? Or what is decoder holding? So we get auto code type. So we have anything and it's called code type. And we have it be decoder. So decoder is an array of characters. And we're switching. And if it is and if it's I versus D, if it's I, it's an int. If it's D, it's a double. And so the point is we pass it the list and then pass it a thing that says whether each one is an int. So here it comes. Bro, this is trash. We have to manually put that in. And I guess every time you use VAR, it gets steps through. Yeah, I don't like having to have two things here matching. Oh. So printf, when you call printf, can print any number of things, and it will somehow determine their types. I guess it calls an intermediate function with the arguments somehow, and then passes this all as an ellipsis, maybe? Yep. Makes sense you would want the same type. Yeah, it's just terrible. Yeah, this is just junk. Just junk. Lambdas? The hell's a lambda? Not too much in. Okay. I'm gonna do a quiz then. It's been like a chapter or two, maybe. And I guess it's just been a while, not a chapter or two. Okay, we're gonna do. What shall we do? Hmm. Oh no. Oh, please name them. Hmm. That's it. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Alright, I don't have to copy them, I forget. It's been a while since I did a quiz. Fuck. How long has it been? See how long I've been. Doesn't matter, fix it now. Okay, thought he uploaded again. Dequeed him. Okay. Alright, we're gonna do. Please critically evaluate my answers to maximize to for accuracy. Consider them as a industry software engineer. Use your brain. Okay. A statement and an expression. Oh, good question. A statement is an individual instruction in the program terminated with a semicolon most of the time. Some complex examples would be like switch cases, if statements, for loops, but not really. A for loop is control flow that includes statements that are run. A switch case is similar, and an if is also similar. Terminated with a semicolon. It is terminated with a semicolon. An expression is any. It's like any individual. Is it individual text that can be evaluated? Is it any individual? Oh, it's any individual syntax that evaluates to a value. Like x, 5, this, etc. 2. Pop. And single line, yo. Multi-line, yo. Variable is a symbolic object, an object with a name. Well, excluding temporary variables, variables are named objects that we refer to with their name, symbol. Well, I guess it's symbol, symbolic constants. The name, which can persist past the first evaluation, unlike temporaries. Objects are not always named. This can be temporary. Well, I guess that's the point. Variables are named. Variables are named objects. Objects can be named, called variables, or unnamed, temporary objects. Variables can be referred, or can be referenced past the line in which they're evaluated, or past the statement in which they're evaluated, while temporary objects cannot. I think at least most of the time. 4. They are destroyed after being evaluated. 4. Initialization means assigning a variable its value during its at its definition, while assignment is giving it value after its definition, i.e., it may have been initialized, but giving it value again later is assignment, as is giving an uninitialized variable assigned value later. Okay, what else? Standard inline, flushes the, inline, flushes the output buffer, which isn't needed because the input probably gets, because our output gets flushed at the right time anyway. I mean, right? Standard character output. The inline character doesn't flush the input buffer, i.e., using standard inline unnecessarily and wastefully flushes the buffer, while the inline character doesn't and flushes at the end of the statement. Likely, maybe. I'm not fully sure. Uninitialized variables are dangerous. Duh, because they're because I'm not going to be redundant here. Because they contain unknown garbage values that, if evaluated used yield undefined behavior. 3 keywords. Okay. For, while, and sure. For, while, and int. The first 2 are loops. Specific control or specific syntax reserved for control flow methods. Int is a data type with its own reserved keyword too. Okay. X 5 because sun's 5. Five suns on this planet. I think super it's a Helldivers thing. What is the name? Super Sagittarius. A. Hello? Oh, well, this wouldn't even work. Because then it would comment out the line. 9. 2 examples of literals? Okay. High 5. Bump. Sure. Literals are temporary objects. We used to assign our temporary objects R values. We used to initialize, assign values. Or in operations. 10. Write a function that takes 2 integers and returns the sum. I'll do one better. Here's a function template. Template, type name T. T get sum. TA, TB. Turn A plus B. Works for ints, float, etc. A void function returns. Oh shit! What do we have for void pointers? Void pointers are pointers that can go to anything, but they can't be dereferenced, right? Isn't that the point? We didn't really use void pointers yet. At some point. Oh, void pointers can hold any address, but they cannot be dereferenced. We can't actually get the value. A void function returns no value. And non-void functions return values. Whoop-de-doo. Parameters. These are the named variables. Unless you're using an ellipse like a freak. Named variables. Local. In functions that are initialized using arguments. Wow. Local variables within functions. Within function signatures that are initialized using with function call arguments. Rvalues or lvalues. Lvalues pass to function. Okay. Local scope is the scope in which local variables are usable. It spans the start of the, well, let's see. Also known as block scope, it spans the block. It spans each block in its open to closed brace, i.e. the beginning to end of a function, or if defined in sub braces, or well, in a complex statement inside another block scope, it's those braces instead. 14. A forward declaration is a signature prototype of a function that we include in a .cpp file, or commonly in header files. To do this in bulk, conveniently, to tell the compiler, yo, home dog, this function variable, well, I mean, really, this is a forward a function variable. This function variable exists and is defined elsewhere. Extern variables or non-static functions, which satisfies the compiler. Otherwise, the compiler would yield an undefined symbol identifier error. Okay. 15. Multiple code files let us compartmentalize features, letting different devs work on different shit. Checking out one file at a time, but kind of, yeah, it's just extra. Compartmentalize features. And make programs more readable, maintainable. Again, via their compartmentalization. I think that's the main value. 16. Namespaces prevent name collisions by having their separate scopes. I.e., you could have an X defined in different namespaces and they wouldn't collide. We'd access each via namespace name X unless the namespace is the global namespace and let's see, an inline namespace or an unnamed namespace. Right? But then we could also could do this inline namespace thing, bump, and then we could also do well, that's it, and then yeah, that's it. Cool. The point is you have an inline or an anonymous namespace inside another namespace. That way you can switch between them and hide shit and show shit, swap things out for versioning without having to change everything in the code. It's all referenced the same way, same identifier, same call, same namespace it's nested in, because both of those put theirs within their local scope. What about a static namespace? Static just gives it, or no, sorry, unnamed gives it, makes everything static, gives it internal linkage. Cool, I think that's fine. It's a global namespace, an inline namespace, or an unnamed namespace. Okay. Header guards tell the compiler to only include their content contained within an if not defined and if block structure. What do you even call it? Block end of section. If the defined macro is defined already. That way, each header file is only included once in any given file, preventing redefinitions, especially for templates and class types, which require definitions to be included and fully seen in any file that uses them. 18. Syntax errors are logical errors that the compiler will catch. Semantic errors are errors of meaning caused by faulty assumptions like unsigned integer, underflow, what else? Off by 1, loop errors, etc. Fuck it, it's fine. Dereferencing, a null pointer, etc. Okay, what else? Breakpoints. Breakpoints are cool, helpful, because we can run a bunch of code without stepping through it and stop at the place we want, where we can watch values and step through into as needed. i.e. shortcut to debug a particular place. 20. Call stack shows the functions that haven't turned yet, i.e. main called do thing, which called A, which called B, and once B returns to A, it'll return A, not it. I'll return to do thing, and then to main. Then the program ends after main returns. 21. Look for issues because issues cause. Wait, hold on. Look for issues first to save time because finding and fixing issues takes more time than fixing the issues in advance. Gotta read bunches of code just to find the one place for the simple issue. Took longer checking for the issue and making a unit test in advance, maybe. 22. Void, maybe has no size? I'm not sure. Let's print it. Will it even let me? Guessing not, huh? Can't, there is no size. Well, it has no size because it holds no value. No? My IDE says it's a complete type because it isn't a standalone data holding type. It doesn't have a size because it doesn't hold anything, maybe. 23. Assign integer, 23, assign integer. 0, unsigned integer. Or signed. Avoid, unsigned because of underflow, where decrementing below 0 yields the maximum number in unsigned int holds, because unsigned ints don't use any memory to represent values below 0 and thus can't represent values below 0. T avoid cause of this danger when possible. Well, rather, possible cause of this danger. T is used for sizes of arrays, used for indexing arrays, like standard vector and standard array, bypassed with standard with .data for both, index for both. I love doing that. Standard the type of a standard vector or standard arrays iterator unless custom and not initialized with and not using standard size t, right? What else? That's kind of it, I think. Write a floating point literal, like 3e or 4e, blah blah blah. Is 4.0 times 10 to the 53rd. And really, this should have the decimal, but static cast explicitly instead of implicitly, explicitly is explicit type conversion, converting the type used as the non-type template argument, or rather converting the argument object's type to the non-type template parameter type, preserving the value, hopefully. So that's the less narrowing, which is allowed here. Because it tells the compiler we accept what the converted value will be, assuming there's a valid conversion. Okay. 27. A string is an array of characters. Of characters that ends with a null terminator. Consequential variables differ because they require initialization with a compile time value more likely easily be optimized away, placed with their values. Oh, parameters equals expression except non-type template parameters. And 0x what f 15 in binary or in decimal 30. Standard string view is a non-owning view to a standard, well, to a string. Maybe a standard string, maybe a C style string, etc. Well, I think they get converted cheaply to this non-owning value. Somehow. Not totally sure. Very similar to getting their values via reference instead of expensively copying a standard string to a parameter. Standard string is preferable because what? It's helpful member functions. I like that. Well, because C-style strings still have a null terminator at the end if you're initializing or assigning them with a C-style string, literal. Man, I've been listening to this song a fucking bunch of times. Holy cow. How long have I been going? 53 already? Damn. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. I mean, what else? What are the issues with C-style, huh? And doesn't decay to a pointer. Can we use a for each? Oh! And again, we can bypass this with Maybe unused, or just so I can use it, doesn't matter. Wait, what? Hold. What? Oh, element, duh. True, we'd also have to have that here. Hello? Boop. Also use, excuse me, for each loops with them. Excuse me, range base for each with them as function, or with them with standard string parameters, unlike C-style strings. Cause of their decay. Gay. Gay. Okay, what else? Operator precedence is the order, or the order that operators evaluate in, i.e., that division occurs before subtraction. So, associativity is the reading order they evaluate in. Like how? Like how assignment operator assignment is right to left and evaluates to the left hand operand. Same with the insertion operator for standard character output, which evaluates to the standard character output object on the left and not the object text, not the R value being inserted. R value on the right, not the right hand R value being inserted to the input or output buffer. 33. Okay, it's enough time. I'm gonna continue more of this tomorrow. Ran out of time. Bop. Give me the answers, buddy. Rather, critique. Sure, you can call them compound statements, but a compound statement is, by definition, a compound of statements. 1, 2, 3. Rather, 1, 2, 3. Granted, these are expression statements that the values are discarded, but still. I dislike this. Okay. Oh, true, duh, because we can have const references that prolong them. Yep. Makes sense. For example, would do thing. It takes a const int reference, my int, and whatever. Let's just say it doesn't actually use it. Boom. 1 is prolonged in that case. Whereas instead, if we did it as a non-const int reference, no sir, it is not a null value. But it becomes a null value, kind of. It's bound to the reference. It's kind of L-value-y. Inserts a new line and flushes, yes. Oh, explicitly flushed. So then, if the flushing is when we actually see it, then why is it that at the end of standard character output, we always see it? It's always getting flushed, right? Regarding 5, I need clarification, please. Every time I use standard character output, I always see the output. Doesn't that mean the output is always being flushed somewhere in after that statement, and never use standard end line. Indeterminate unadvised, yes, go, blah, 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 blah. Ah, whoops, my bad. Oh, I totally did, probably. Maybe, I don't believe that. Hallucination? Oh my fucking god, I just did that. It's not a closing angled bracket. I just didn't fucking put the right. Oh my god, this is hallucination. There's no forgotten closing angle. This is supposed to be parentheses. This is the wrong wording. Yes, it's supposed to be parentheses. Yes. It's not, I forgot a closing angle bracket. It's, I forgot, and I accidentally used one. I forgot a parentheses, yo. No, this is just wrong. They don't return a value. Duh, of course they can do whatever the fuck they want, but they don't return a value. That is the difference. Yes, that's it. So next, yes, we know this. Logical. Yes. Hello? This is just stupid, of course. There are errors of meaning. Duh, logic. In the brain, errors of meaning. What is logic? Meaning, hello? It's the way of figuring things out. Use your brain, buddy. I told you to use your brain. Bro. Oh my. Okay, I fucked up. I meant to say incomplete, but I was typing too quick. My fault. It represents no object. That makes sense. So there is no size. Yep. You literally said character versus string. Let's go get the receipts, buddy. You fucking dummy. Duh. Yeah, I already said this, that they could be non-type template parameters. This is fake news. You're not going to have a parameter that's named const expression. Not that I've seen. What do you mean mostly correct? Yes, and this is why standard strings are preferred, because when we pass them, we don't get any decay. We can still use all the array pieces of them because they're still technically standard arrays. Well, I guess they're standard vectors, really, right? So if we include string, it's a standard basic string, which is a specific type of object, and it's standard basic string of characters in this, and it has a specific type of allocator. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like it's basically a standard vector. Non-associativity. Cool, I'll take it. It is buffered and automatically flushed. What is the certain circumstance? Line buffering? Line buffered? Whenever a lunar line character is entered? Hold. Always? So these are the same if you have an interactive device, which I guess we have. The buffer is never full. Okay, he has no idea. So thanks. Maybe it's just Visual Studio, basically. Okay, sounds good to me. Cool. I will take that as a 100%. Fine with me. Bye-bye.